12 days. Let's get the gang back together. So everybody that would worked on it would all work together pretty much, or had worked with Ben at some stage, I think, and or had wanted to. I think maybe Peter Ferdinando and Reese, I don't think had worked with Ben before. But the idea was that he shot it chronologically. So the first day on the first scene in the film is the first day of shooting. So I don't turn up until later on, which was actually the Wednesday. So the Monday, Tuesday filming, and then the Wednesday. And because they shot it in black and white, it was very easy to match the shots and things, you know. So like there was one when they were eating the soup, it's pissing out of the heavens, and you don't really notice it. Like I'm looking at it now, looking for the rain, and going, "Oh, I can really see it now." Whereas that, I remember they were saying it was just fucking torrential, but because it was black and white, it didn't sort of, you know, it didn't ruin the shot. So that was great. You know, it was a lot of. I love the idea of just getting up and wearing the same stuff you wore the day before, and not having to go back on yourself. And because the field itself, we shot in certain areas of the field. You weren't allowed to just wander off. So like on the Wednesday, we were over in the bottom left-hand corner, and there was, when you left, you had one of the ADs had to walk you back through a designated path, and, you know, things like that. Yeah, it was great. It was really exciting.
Yeah.
It was really exciting.
And were there kind of any kind of modern interruptions, as it were? I mean, it looks like
Yeah,
really clear. But
I don't know where they got the location from, but it's been used in a few other films, and I think mainly because whoever the farmer is has left these acres untouched. So there's no branches have been sawn down, or there's no fences that you can see, and there's no telegraph poles. But the problem is it's on that sort of it's near Aldershot. It's on the Hampshire borders, down that way, sort of Hampshire-Surrey borders. So there's an airport nearby, or there's a military base nearby. So there was lots of people, lots of helicopters fucking coming over and just hovering above us, enough to make me feel homesick. So there was a lot of that, a lot of sort of strange gawpers. You know, you're shooting on location, you get people standing, or you get like cars pulling up, and people. You don't normally get helicopters just hanging above you. It's amazing how nosy human beings can be. They'll get any vehicle to help them fucking see what's going on.
what's going on, yeah.
So there's a bit of that. A bit of low-flying aircraft as well.
And can you, with O'Neill, I mean, it's screen menace, you know, on the Richter scale. it's very intense. Can you tell us a little bit about O'Neill? I mean, what kind of, where's he? What were you drawing on there for him? Is he kind of?
He's potentially the devil.
Yeah.
You know, so it was interesting to play somebody with no redeeming features whatsoever, because normally if you're playing somebody really dark, you sort of try and look for the humanity in him. You know, being murderers or rapists or whatever, or you try and look for the lost boy in them, maybe, or I don't know, just something in it, so it gives the human, so you can pull from that out into them. Because, but I think O'Neill was just, you know, he's either that or he's an amazing charlatan living in a really dark age, you know. And O'Neill came from when Ben and Amy were putting the idea together, and he was saying, I want you to be involved in it, and this is some of the ideas, and like what ended up on screen wasn't like what he was talking about. But around about the Civil War, he was talking about that merging of sort of magic and religion, and that tussle for the hearts and the minds and the soul of the English people. How could you fit the Irish into that? And around that time was a thing. There was a big battle in the north part of Ireland, around Enniskillen, where the English routed the Irish, and the clan of O'Neill were the High Kings of Ulster, and they were routed at Enniskillen, and it became known as the Flight of the Earls, where they left Ireland and settled pretty much in France, in the lowlands of Europe. So I sort of I pitched the idea that maybe there was a few of them just only got as far as England, and became, you know, snake oil sellers, or got involved in whatever this, this sort of Venn diagram of a new world, old world, spiritual world, and the Civil War in the middle of it, you know. So I could just very easily see an Irishman with a gift of the gab or a gift for an opportunity, getting involved with an alchemist.
Yeah,
you know.
Had you worked or dealt with any of the other cast before? Because you're basically like a band of comedians, really. I mean, there's a lot coming from the world of comedy.
Yeah. You mean in this? In film?
I mean, had you sort of, was that the first time you kind of met each other?
Yeah, I knew Rhys vaguely, and I'm friends with Peter through Neil Maskell. They're good mates. Ryan Pope I didn't know, and God, I'm not terrible with names tonight. Oh, who is it? Shout it out.
Who was that?
The other guy. He's going to kill me now. We hadn't met before either. Richard Glover. Thank you.
Yes, that's it.
Not one of you left me up there high and dry, just gawping like I'm some sort of fucking gorilla in a cage, waiting for a child to fall in the truck. So no, I didn't know any of them. I didn't know any of them really, but through the process of working with Ben, you become really good friends as well, because we were all staying in like a moat house down the road and stuff, you know. So it was all that, all in together, girls, just fine weather girls, you know what I mean? It was great. Not to muck it in. It was like a really medieval scout troop.
Yeah.
Glamping in the 16th century.
And the decision to make it black and white, that was obviously something you all knew about right at the start.
Yeah, I think it was Ben's idea just for that. If you're dealing with colour, then you're having to deal with all the different contrasts, and you've got to match the light, and you've got to match stuff. And if you don't have time to do that, then black and white, you can get a uniform. I think the contrast and stuff like that, and you can match things up better.
Sure.
And to just hit the ground running and just shoot this. We've got 12 days. We can't do more than 12 days. So let's just get on. What are the pitfalls in a situation like this? And I think black and white helps to cover a lot of the cracks.
Sure.
Sure. And also looks great as well.
Yeah,
it's
fantastic. Yeah. I'm going to open it up now to you chaps. If you'd like to ask Michael something about the film or anything else he's done, in fact. So please shout out your questions nice and loud so we can hear you.
Hi. Did Ben ask you to watch any movies or look at any source text before going on set?
For Field in England? Yeah, he had suggested stuff, but I didn't watch them. I'm quite paranoid about stuff like that, because I think if I watch stuff, then I mimic it, and if I mimic it, then it's just all I'm doing is a pastiche of stuff, rather than trying to use my own imagination. We'd worked on the notes of the O'Neill thing that I was telling you about, but there was a few films that were made around the late 60s. You would probably know what I'm talking about. Winstanley, yeah, that's one, and Witchfinder General, obviously, which I'd watched as a kid. It used to be horror movies on a Monday night we were allowed to watch, and Witchfinder General was one of them. So stuff like that, but Ben is like, he immerses himself in stuff like that, which I don't really, not too much, because as I say, I'm scared I'll be influenced too much by it, you know. Not that I'm looking to be Mr. Original, but I just think if I bring what I think to it, and then I'll serve whatever he wants then, you know. I'm there to tell a story, I'm not there to do some flourish, you know. Did I answer it?
Absolutely.
Okay, brilliant, thanks.
Anybody else? Yes?
What do you think the film was about?
I didn't ask that question.
There's the question that normally pops up. It's a Ben Wheatley film. I think if you see a Ben Wheatley film, there will be that, what in God's name is going on? So what is it about? Well, it's about magic, really, and I think that field could be, you know, it could be heaven, or it could be hell, or it could be the other world. You know, they've pulled my character out of another dimension, and you see in the trip scene that Rhys's character goes in, and seems to go into another dimension. So maybe through this magic, maybe this magic works, the alchemy works, but my character could only get so far So hence the white-haired character was called upon. But also maybe it's cyclical. It just keeps. It's like purgatory, or that the same thing happens again. You know, at the end, you see Whitehead is wearing O'Neill's clothing, and when he tries to leave the field, he meets the same people again. So maybe give another period of time, and he goes back into from the hedge. The process is going to start again, because there's bodies in. You know, we're left with bodies at the bottom of the hole, and Ryan Pope's character finds a skull, so it potentially could be himself that he's finding. So stuff like that. But it's always vague enough for you to put your own what you feel from it. You know, I think so. But that's what makes it really interesting and sexy. You know, there's so many films that you go to see now, and it's laid out for you, and you come away just going, "Well, that was nice," and sort of throw the chewing gum into the bin. Whereas if it makes you think, it's nearly like going to see a play. There's nothing better than going to see a play or going to see a performance and then going away with the person you're with, having a bite to eat and discussing and arguing over how you think, what you thought it was about. So Ben does a lot of that. There's a lot of that, which I think is really interesting. Did that help in any way?
Yeah, it did.
All right.
I mean, what you said about it's not all laid out for you, it's what you make of it.
Yeah, I think it's really, I think we're living in a world now where we're being patronised by filmmakers so much, or where our imaginations are being taken off us, so we just sit and just sort of consume like that, you know. So I think films like this, I think you really work for it, and it fires your imagination, and it takes you on a strange journey, so you just let yourself go, you know. Like when I've taken LSD in my time, and if I ever tried to analyse it as I was going along, I was fucked. You know, I was like, this is weird now, I must be tripping now. Oh God, this feeling in my stomach's not very good. Maybe I'm going to have a bad trip, I'm having a bad trip. So you just let yourself go, baby, you know what I mean? It's a wee bit like that.
I think in terms of imagination, I think the sequence when Reese comes out of the tent, I mean that's, you know, I get goosebumps every time I see it.
Yeah, but you're really affected by that scene.
Yeah, and you know, like you say, with that scope for imagination, we don't know what happened in the tent.
Yeah.
And your mind is thinking,
I do.
Yeah, you do. And I'm working up to it, Michael. What did you do to him?
Well, it was like a bad night in Latitude. No, I don't know what I did. But we were in that tent for ages, and it was really fun. But there was lots of other ideas that were going to be used. Like they'd made this grid out of a box, and that the runes were on this grid, and light was going to pulse up through the runes, and you were going to see that, and you were going to see. We got all this stuff in to work like some sort of potion or magic together, and then it just all looked a bit like hokum, you know. So we tied Reese up. When you're bored, tie somebody up. So they were sort of decided, well, why don't you just tie him up and then you leave, like you've been possessed. So that was it. And I remember standing with them, and all I had to do was make sure that the rope was taut. Don't let it dip, because it look more effective. And just standing looking at him, watching him get into character, thinking, what's he going to do? And they sort of pulled his face and looked at me and walked out of the tent. That'll never work. And everybody's just, you know, because I'd never really seen it until I seen it on the screen. Because all I seen was him walk off, and then the rest of the lads look at him. Yeah, it's genius. Just a brilliant. You know, he's amazing. He's an amazing actor, and he just embodies it straight away. You know, but you can see that, you know, you can see Reece Shearsmith, but you see, you know, all his other bits. Just the way he walks, sometimes the way he looks. You know, it's.
And I think the music.
It's a League of Gentlemen.
Yeah, it
you
is.
know what I mean? You see little bits up in Royston Vasey, and no, I think he's amazing. He's a lovely man. Really, you know, beautifully awkward and fantastically angry. Just, you know, I love an angry man sometimes. I love angry Englishmen. There's just something fascinating about them when they're really fucked off about stuff. Like David Mitchell, David Mitchell with a hemorrhoid is just probably one of the most joyous things to watch, I think, as a Northern Irishman. You know what I mean? But, yeah, it's quite good. I quite like what we did there. We have our own form of anger where I come from. Normally lasts for about 400 years. Any more for
Any
anyone?
more questions, please? Yes, please.
So, as you said, it's a pretty ambiguous script. What's the sort of process for you as an actor when you from getting the screenplay to actually projecting that narrative? Like, what were the kind of conversations you had with Amy, I guess, and Ben about what it did mean that helped you to get that vision across?
Well, I had no conversations with Amy. Amy just writes it, gives it to you, and that's the end of her process. And Ben takes over then. But when the script comes in many forms, it comes in loads of drafts, and if you're because I was in from the start, so I could see it growing, and you could see there was negotiations over who O'Neill is and what O'Neill is, and and Ben had written various drafts, but then the shooting script was Amy, so they worked on it together, and then she polished it and got it ready. So by the time, there was over a period of a year or two, that from the idea, because it was a script that he was going to use at some stage, and then after Kill List, then it becomes time. What happens? America got interested in him. He got offered lots of scripts, and he thought he was going to go to make something straight away. And of course, the bigger the production, the more they drag their heels, and the longer the process starts for. And he just thought, fuck this. I've got 12 weeks. Let's get the script together. So in September, him and his family went on holiday, and they got the script ready. And I think at the end of September, we were in the field in England. So I'd already talked about O'Neill and how O'Neill fitted into it, and that's really only my part. I wouldn't be presumptuous enough to start talking about the motivations of the other actor or the other parts and stuff. And I like to, as an actor, I like to be the carrier of the story. I don't really want you to see me acting. I want you to believe my character, and I think that's important. So whatever he asked me to do, I will do that, because it's coming from his imagination, and all I wait for him is to go, oh no, a wee bit less, a wee bit more, that's good, or whatever. If he's not talking to you, you're doing okay, basically. And I like to work like that, and fast. We work fast. The thing I felt hard about this was there was obviously no room for improvisation. It's hard to improvise in 16th and 17th century dialogue, so rhetoric, you know what I mean. I remember trying, and it's really hard to throw a forsooth in every now and again. But on the other, in other times with Ben, you get the chance to improvise, even though a lot of it doesn't end up on screen, but it helps to loosen you up a wee bit, get you match fit. It sort of stretches you and gets you, and helps you marry up with your character and your environment better. I've found when I've worked on other productions, when they're strict with stuff and they don't let you slightly come off the page, I like to own the script. So my problem is being a stand-up comedian of 20 years before my acting, I'm always editing as I'm going along. I'm always taking a word and going, that word's not funny enough, that's a funnier word, or that's a funny letter. I might even get down to f and k and t. They're funny, It's funny, it has to be finished with a t or a k. Those things that I don't want wet words, I want strong, hard, quick words. So in scripts I want to do that as well, and sometimes you can do that and sometimes you can't, because writers can be very touchy, But with Ben it's not that way, but Field in England it was pretty much forward to the floor, We didn't get to fuck around too much. But there was a lot to get on with in 12 days anyway, so you didn't want to be wasting time. The wind machine was my favourite part of it, because we had this massive wind machine just blew us all over the field. And this bloke, it took us ages getting it started. This bloke, he's a proper old, carny, the expression carny, guy that runs a fairground. And he had a face, he like had a face from the 17th century. smoking a roll up and a hat at a jaunty angle, really battered sort of. You know. He was brilliant, and everybody was panicking and trying to get this thing started. And he would just, nah, it's not working. Do you ever have a gun? No, couldn't give a fuck. It was brilliant. I don't know, did that help?
No.
Not the old guy at the end. That was just just for me, to be honest. But did I answer your question? Okay.
Yes, well,
All right, but fine.
spot on.
I thought you said that's fine. Yeah. Fucking younger generation. I don't know.
I never
Yeah,
said
all right, it's fine. It's fine. I suppose it will do. You know. That's the best you're offering now, old man. Suppose you want me to cut the hedge next?
Do you have any more questions? Yes, sir.
What was going on with the totem pole thing? Work out how that fits in
The
with
totem pole.
The totem pole?
the stick you were trying to pull out of the rope.
Oh, the stake.
Yeah.
That there is an imagery around that does have a significance to the story that I don't know. I can't remember. But I remember this coming up in the past, and there is something to do with divining and of that era. That because it was carved, and it was carved in a special. It was like a runic sort of pole that was put into the ground, and then they were used for divining. I don't know much, but I do know.
Yes, sir.
So I guess this is more of a general question.
Sure.
But you've worked with a lot of great directors, and as an actor, what do you look for in a director, and what causes you to come back to them and work with them repeatedly like that movie?
Well, Ben, because he asked me. You know, I'm not. You know, as an actor, I think there's a fallacy thinking, oh, I really like to only work with certain people, and you know, people I understand or understand me or whatever. To be honest, if they fucking ask you, you know what I mean. It tends to be you're grateful enough to be asked, and then if you do a good enough job, you might be asked again. You know, and I really struck lucky in my relationship with Ben. To be honest, you know, there's a lot better actors than me that haven't met somebody as prolific and who thinks that you're good enough to work with them again and again. So that's been a pleasure and a joy and a lovely bit of magic. You know, it's a beautiful mistake in a lot of ways. But as far as working with other directors, it's always in the story. I think it starts with the story, or if I know that I've seen the director's work, like Lenny Abramson, for example, when I seen Adam and Paul. And Garage, I've always really wanted to work with him. That hasn't happened yet, but so it's people like that. And then there's your dreams, you know, your Scorsese's and your this, that, and the other. But you never think, oh, I'm going to work with them one day. But it's normally, for me, it's the story. If I get a chance to work on a good script, you know, that's what it's about. A good dramatic script is what I'm after, really, you know. Did that answer a question properly?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. He's one of your lot, isn't he?
Can I ask, when you first read the script for Kill List, I saw it a few weeks ago, what did you think of that final scene?
Loved it. That's been there from day one as well. That was just, I thought it was what a brave thing to do. What an absolutely really brave thing to do. And have you seen Kill List, madam? No.
You don't understand this one, but watch Kill List.
Kill List. It's the film before. This is the third in Ben Movie's films. Well, four if you count the sightseers. But yeah. But Kill List. It's another one that'll go really. But the final act, I won't ruin it for you. But the final act is quite sort of visceral.
Because it was on late at night, and I had to just go to bed and couldn't discuss it with anybody.
Yeah.
There was nobody up, and I was in bed thinking.
How did you sleep?
Well, exactly. But I sort of got up the next morning, Googled straight away, and my theory was up there with all the other theories.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of that. You know what I mean? I'm sure there'll be festivals. There'll be Kill List festivals in the future with people with big wicker hats on, sitting around, you know, in their underpants or not, you know. What a joy I had. A night shoot in the piss and rain in Herwood House in Leeds with loads of naked pensioners around that. Yeah.
That scene when you're getting chased in the tunnels.
Yeah.
Quite claustrophobic. I was like, oh.
That tunnel was as far from here to the bar. That was it. That was it. and it was a dog leg tunnel. So we just get to the end and then turn and come back up again. It was in a warehouse in Sheffield.
Wow.
Yeah, it wasn't a real tunnel. Thank God, you know. But my